Were you ever a student and a substitute teacher ran the class for a day? How did you treat the substitute? Were you the helpful student, or did you make that day a living hell for the educational instructor? What happens when the students have all the control and begin creating chaos within a school? Well, the local politicians pass a BR Act, Battle Royale Act, a piece of legislation designed to give the adults back the control they rightly deserve. A random selected class of ninth graders, or mischievous misfits, are sent to an island to battle to the death until only one student remains. This is It Records. Good evening, all you creatures of the night, and welcome to the It Records podcast here on the Internet Highway once again. I am one of your three hosts of the It Records podcast, Matt Johnson.
It'd be really funny if you said, like, an extra one, like 4, and we will be like, oh, there's another.
Yeah. We have a guest host. The director of the film is here today.
Well, he's dead.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
He died, like, right after this movie.
Yeah.
Trivia going... for the viewers, we watched the 2000 film Battle Royale, Japanese film, directed by Kinji Fukasawa.
Yeah.
I
Pronounce that right?
I don't know.
Right,
I just
Okay.
know
With that.
I cannot pronounce his name, and that he was a very experienced director. He had a lot of movies.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of series. Like, there was, like, a movie that had, like, a series that had, like, 10 movies in it. It was about, like, the Japanese, like, underworld or whatever.
Yeah, he was fairly popular, not only in Japanese cinema, but I think on the world stage, people knew of his directorial skills.
Mm-hmm. Definitely an influence on a lot of, like, American directors.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of his films are, as well, for people who don't watch Japanese cinema very much, relatable to American cinema, or at least this film, particularly.
Oh, it's very quick.
Yeah.
Where I feel like, especially for him, because, like, he's such, like, an older director that you feel like he wouldn't be so fast paced, but he is, and there's this a style, and influenced the French Connection a lot.
Yeah. And this film, Battle Royale, it takes place in the future. The Japanese government captures a class of ninth grade students and forces them to kill one another under the Revolutionary Battle Royale Act. So if you've heard of the term Battle Royale or seen any type of movie that has that type of scenario, this film also kind of lent itself to inspiring other films down the road, I think.
Yeah, it inspired the graphic, like, there's a graphic novel now about it, and it kind of, like, there's, like, a genre of it within, like, manga now because of this.
Yeah, I read that. Mm-hmm. And it's also based off a book.
Yes.
Prior to the movie having the success it has, it was a very popular book in Japan at the time. And the movie, as well as the book, had a rough time being released in Japan due to the nature of the film.
Yeah, it was pretty controversial. It was banned in a lot of countries.
Mm-hmm. Which only really drove up the popularity of people wanting to see
Right,
it.
the forbidden fruit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it, like, isn't, like, the R15 rating in Japan, like, used very rarely, but I think this movie is in the R15 category.
Yeah. It's definitely, it barely passed the ratings, I guess.
You want to know why I picked this movie as a little info?
Let's hear it.
Well,
I'd love to know.
besides me, like, having it on my watch list for so long, not too long ago, before me picking this, Nerd Writer, which is a YouTube channel that I like a lot, he had a video about Battle Royale being the best teen movie, and he proposes it as, like, it's just as influential and, like, kind of goes with the category of, like, Ferris Bueller's Day Off and all those teen movies of the 80s. He kind of proposes that it's like that, but just, like, so escalated that, I don't know, he proposed something that was pretty interesting, and it caught my eye, and I was like, you know what, I want to watch it.
That's interesting. I would never have compared this movie to Ferris Bueller's Day Off ever, but I can see
Yeah.
maybe a little bit of that connection slightly. Just with
It's just like, yeah, there's slight connections there between like the relationships you could see between the friends, like that's there, like how there is in other teen movies. It's just that all those other teen movies don't have the violence that this one has.
they're usually a lot lighter. Yeah.
Yeah. And I ran into a few articles like that talking about it being one of the best teen movies. And it kind of follows those same ideas of the 80s teen movies when I think of like Ferris Bueller. Is it does focus on the teens. It's about their relationships. And there's always like that challenge of authority. Well, like Ferris doesn't want to go to school or you don't want to listen to your parents sort of a thing. Which is taken to an extreme here with the Battle Royale Act and the way they rebel against the students. And then they have to fight each other to the death. But like that same overarching idea is there.
Okay.
So I guess I could see the argument for it.
I'm with
Yeah.
you.
It's a really good video that Nerdwriter put out, and I suggest you watch it.
The movie was directed by Kinji Fukasawa. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. And his son was one of the co-writers with him for the screenplay.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
And jumping forward just for a second into the Battle Royale 2 sequel, the son wrote and directed the second one.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, didn't the director pass away pretty early on in the production of the sequel?
He filmed one scene for the second movie, and then he passed away.
And Battle Royale 2 would have been its own entity. There was no Battle Royale 2 book. There's been, as Pete mentioned, the manga that's been created based on it, but the movie would have been a whole new iteration.
I wonder what he would... I never seen the second one, but I wonder what he would have done differently. Just to... like, how he would continue the story. Because, like, I know that's jumping the gun a little bit here. But, like, it almost seems like there's no room for a sequel, I guess. Like, I don't know. There's, like, not a whole lot left in the air. Like, it's kind of tightly wrapped at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And it did not do as well as
The first one?
Battle Royale.
Yeah. I kind of figured that.
Mm-hmm. Probably for similar reasons. It's hard to go somewhere else after this, except doing the exact same thing, only bloodier.
I mean, I'll just, like, kind of spoil how I feel about it already. Like, I was, like, really impressed with how this movie went. Like, I like the structure of it a lot. And, like, just how they're... Even though you have so many characters, you do care about some of their, like, relationships. Like, because, like, you kind of, like, see that they care for their friends. And then, like, to see people eventually betray each other is just kind of, like... I know, it's pretty intense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think why I enjoy it is there are so many characters, as you said, but we do have a protagonist, and I believe his name is Shuye, or he's one of the students, and we follow him, and his struggle is really like what drives the plot, but you do get these little episodic narratives of other characters, and you get backstory with them, and I enjoyed that because it felt like I got a whole atmosphere of the island of all the students. It wasn't just focused on what is our main character going to do, but I did care about those little mini episodes within the story, and those reminded me a lot of Tarantino films, which he has said this is one of his favorite films that he draws influence from.
Oh yeah, you could definitely see that. Just he is inspired from this director for sure, because like Tarantino's like fast cut style is very like this guy.
Mm-hmm. And even those like Tarantino scenes that are an 8-minute to 10-minute scene of just one-on-one dialogue with two characters that are a subplot or a B-plot grip me just as much as following the actual storyline. Just reminded me a lot of I wish I could remember the names, but the one student who was like she must have been like the popular girl people didn't like, and she was like really interested in killing everybody.
Oh
what character I'm
yeah,
talking
I
about?
thought she was really interesting.
Yeah, I was really, yeah, mesmerized by her story, but she's not our protagonist. She's off to the side.
So I got that she was popular, but everyone hated her. Like I was just really confused by that.
So
I was
she's like
well,
one of the feared popular
maybe
girls,
that's
is
what
that
it
right?
is. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Because I was just like, well, you're popular, so like, why does everyone hate you?
Yeah.
And I guess like they
Yep.
call her like a slut, so like I guess she gets kind of like slut shamed. Because like she says that I guess her friends, quote unquote, say that she slept with like older men, and I was like, oh shit, did she sleep with the main guy's dad, and that's why he killed himself? Like spoiler, that's the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had that little tidbit, and I thought that was like gonna come back, and then it just never did, and I was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
but I wonder if that is, because like you don't know why the dad killed himself.
No,
And
they
I
never
guess-
go into that.
Yeah, which is probably good, but I wonder if like, I'm sure that's in there for us to make that, inference or whatever.
The dad was not nice. Like, just saying.
The main character's dead.
I don't remember him being mean. I feel like he was barely even in it, but like, what did he do that was mean? I don't remember.
There was just one flashback scene that I remember where him and the son are at a restaurant and he's, just being very rude to
Oh,
the
I
wait
do
staff.
remember that.
So
I
I
saw-
think that one scene sheds a lot of light onto who that character was.
I saw it very differently. Like I saw like a man who was just broken because like he was like waiting for like a job interview. Like I think he was just kind of like a bum, and he's just like trying to like survive and like provide for his kid, and he's like just not getting any luck.
Did
And
they
then,
say what happened to the mom? Was she...
I think it's just implied that she died.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I think they kind of like subtly implied
Okay.
that.
So that's what I got from
That's
that.
a good
Like,
point.
I just saw that like a broken
He's
man who
stressed.
just like, just wanted to like go out to dinner with his son, and then he just like wouldn't be able. He like couldn't actually even do that because he's just so broken, doesn't have a job, kind of thing.
And if I may add on to that, one of I think the overarching themes, as you can see, is the generational gap. The adults versus the young, and kind of coming to terms with that in a drastic sense. But looking into it, I think it was also meant to look at how the Japanese system of education is very competitive. As I was reading, and it's like you need to pass these exams. You want to be number one, which Battle Royale can be a metaphor for. But also, I think it was meant to show the adults, like their teacher seems very depressed, even though he's running this battle royale, and our main protagonist, dad, seems very dejected, is to show how competitive the schooling system is, and these kids are supposed to compete against each other and be prepared for a skilled workforce, but the Japanese economy wasn't providing for it, so they were just felt lost after they had gone through all this education. Or metaphorically, they were dead in a sense because they had nothing to go to after schooling.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Pen drop.
Another thing I saw is that I was watching like a bunch of interviews about, because I was really interested in the director when I watched this, because I never watched any of his movies before, and I was like, oh shit, like what else did he do? And like this is often regarded as his best movie, which is like kind of cool and kind of sad at the same time, because I was like, oh, we watched the best one, but then like everything we else watch from him from now on is not gonna compare, which was kind of a downer. But like I'm interested to see his other series and like how he was like in the past. But like William Friedkin is really inspired from, like, that's why I said The French Connection like took inspiration a lot. We said Tarantino took a lot of inspiration from him. And in like his interview was talking about like this movie was like kind of like the generation gap, like you said. Like he experienced like World War II, and like how like he saw his friends like being shot by like American soldiers, like he's like the American soldiers told us to pick up dead bodies, and then they just started shooting at us. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? Like it was just like all these horror stories of this like all this shit they had to deal with like post like Fallout. of World War II and whatever, and like the next generation after him, like obviously didn't experience any of that. Like didn't like really experience like all the yakuza or all that shit, like because like Japan started cleaning itself up. Like I guess I don't know. I guess they picked themselves up pretty quickly, but there was still like a lot of like crime and violence like right after World War II. And then like once the new generation came along, and kind of like Japan was like this whole new like mega city, like almost like all over. And like there was just like such big like gaps of like what these two generations experienced, and like that's why he made this movie.
Yeah, and to even add on to that, historically, like the '90s was like a notoriously terrible economic time for Japan. Right at the precipice of those generational gaps, the economy's not going well. People are going to get more agitated. I feel like. Yeah, but that's an interesting story. That's about Fukusawa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like shocked because you don't hear that kind of stuff. Like, I guess like it makes sense why they didn't teach us that, because it makes us look bad. But it's still pretty fucked up that they try and hide that shit.
So seeing this as a horror podcast, I thought we could pick out a few elements of what makes Battle Royale cross that thriller line into a horror type film.
Well, I'm getting more of a thriller vibe from it, but as far as like fulfilling some sort of horror element, like there's tons of gore and for anybody's standards, so that probably helps.
For a body count of 48, in case anybody was wondering. 40. Yeah.
All right.
48 body count in this film.
There's a decent amount of off-screen deaths, so it doesn't show all of them, but they're still very brutal. Like, just from like the first death alone, like between like the main character and his like friend that he like saw in the orphanage, or I think where he met him at, and then like they all had bombs on their like necks, like attached to them by the military or police force, whatever they are, on this island. And they're like, okay, they watched this like really crazy video explaining it. And it was like very Japanese TV, where like it was just like very giggly, and then like it was like very serious at the same time, because it's like, you must kill your friends with any weapon possible. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, that was
and then,
wild.
Like, he like disobeyed, so like he was like made an example of. They're like, okay, we're sending off your thing, and then like everyone's like pushing him away, and he's like, wait, and then his like head explodes, and it's like, oh shit, like it just starts off like bam, and then it just like fucking keeps going. Yeah,
Full throttle.
it goes the whole time.
Yeah, and I think it really helps the film, is what you talked about. It gets serious, and then had the person describing the rules of the Battle Royale, she was like really bubbly and happy, and it was kind of like off-putting, and I think the film was kind of going for that exaggerated element, like especially with the deaths, that it was supposed to be kind of satirical or not comical, but cartoonish in a sense.
Yeah.
Even with the classical music, that was kind of the score of this film, was classical pieces of like symphonies and things like that kind of gave it this operatic feel, that it was larger than life.
Yeah.
And it wasn't meant to be taken too seriously.
It was really good at cultivating its own world. Like, it made me like really interested in like in watching this. Like, I was looking forward to watching a sequel at some point, because like I was like, even though it was like left off, like I said earlier, like how it ends, and we'll get into it later, how like it kind of like covered everything pretty nicely, but like it created this world that like could be explored very well, like depending on what the next director did with it.
Yeah. His son. The next
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you were talking about the ending and horror elements of the film. I think the gore is one. the secluded space of the island is always kind of a horror element of being in a confined space. But also, I would say the final girl / the monster, where this film has that, but it's also subverted. It kind of subverts the genre a bit, where the monster is seen as their teacher who's running the battle royale.
Yeah, who had a really weird relationship with one of the girls.
Yeah,
well,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that girl was like supposed to be some sort of daughter figure to him, right? Because he didn't get along with his own daughter.
That's what I took from it too.
Okay.
Because there's phone conversations with him and his daughter during the battle royale that seems like she hates him, doesn't want him to come back.
Oh yeah.
So I think he sees this young girl, Nikoi, I think, or Nikoo was her name, and sees her as a daughter figure. So he kind of wanted her to survive.
Right, because she's like the only one that didn't rebel, when like all the other classmates did, right?
Yeah, everyone else like kind of folded.
So that's why.
And like resorted to killing, where she was like, I guess seen as like a pure one in his eyes, because like the way he like framed her in his mind and drew the picture of her like being like above everyone else, scattered through like very poor drawing of like all these dead bodies of kids, and I was like, this is like really fucked up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's... What is that actor's name? He's a very famous Japanese actor.
Yeah,
too.
he looked so familiar to me.
Takeshi Kitano.
I wonder if I've seen... I feel like I've seen him in other stuff. I mean, I had to.
Mm-hmm. Very famous Japanese director, and he's been in some American films as well.
Do you have it offhand? I'm curious.
One American film that he's in Johnny Mnemonic. That one popped out to me.
No way.
Keanu Reeves.
Ah, that's so awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's in that one for sure.
Have not seen that.
Oh, you need to see Johnny Mnemonic. And everybody listening, go check out Johnny Mnemonic. But yeah, he's a very good actor, and he seems very dejected and sad throughout this whole battle royale scenario, even though it kind of seems like he wanted it to happen.
Yeah.
I think at the end
it was very strange.
And I think that kind of adds to that theme I thought about, Japanese education kind of tells these students be competitive and be number one, all these examinations, have this great life and this job you want, and then these adults realizing once they get out that there's no real competition out there, especially at the time when this movie came out during Japan's economy was like really stagnant. But yeah.
I forgot that Japan had a bad era of their economy in the 90s, because obviously I was like a child.
The lost
Barely
decade.
alive.
I was like a child, yeah. I was barely alive.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, same.
I think it's called secular stagnation. Is what happened with the economy. That's for my other podcast.
Sure.
Talking economics. Get back with
Whatever you say, man. I believe you.
You could literally say anything and I wouldn't know, if you were lying or not. So.
Sure, yeah, that makes sense.
Sure, yeah, that sounds right. You're the expert.
Yeah. Well, I think it's that time of the podcast where we talked about sequels, but budget and box office, things of that nature.
This movie did very well, critically and with audiences. I think it was one of Japan's, in the top 10. I think I read that. Highest
I read that
grossing
too.
or something.
Mm-hmm.
It made 1 billion zenny.
Zenny?
That's not a real
Is that right?
That's not a real currency.
I think it's the yen. The yennies. We want.
Yep. Zenny is definitely the currency from Dragon Ball Z, so that's not real.
Oh, that's great.
Which is a Japanese show, so I was close.
So, close enough.
Yeah. Oh, I thought we've talked about a lot of the trivia of the film and the body count, but I thought I would list off for the viewers The rules were there were 42 students in this ninth grade class that had to compete until there was one left. Spoiler alert, there were three left. They beat the system, our main character. But they were all given random weapons, and some were more dangerous than others. They ranged from an Uzi submachine gun, handguns, shotguns, taser, knife, all the way down to binoculars and a saucepan lid and a paper fan, which I thought was a very interesting element to this film where not everybody was given some actual weapon of death, but someone got a paper fan and a saucepan lid to defend themselves.
Did you like how one of the nerdier guys like caved right away with the bow and arrow? Like, as soon as the main guy gets out, like he's just like shooting people.
He
like
lost his mind.
Fucking lost it right away.
Yeah.
I like the scene, like before we wrap it up. Like I like the scene where our main character is like injured and he's saved by one of the guys. But he's dropped off at this like camp lighthouse where it's just all girls, and he's nowhere to be found, which I found confusing. And then like one of these girls saw him like accidentally kill someone, and so she's trying to poison him, and she ends up poisoning one of the girls. They all turn on each other. They all start fighting like super quick, and I thought that whole sequence alone is like fucking amazing. It's like really good.
Yeah, a lot of shit went wrong fast. Sorry, Matt. Go on.
No, I was just gonna echo what you said. I mean, that scene like really froze me. Like how I thought it was executed really well, and things just escalated so quickly, and everybody was dead, and the guy's like banging on the door up in the room, like, "What's going on?"
And she's like, "I'm sorry," and she like kills herself, and I'm like, holy shit, this is fucking intense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sequence is probably my favorite in the movie. That's why I brought it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. So I think that can take us to Defend or Destroy of Battle Royale.
You want me to take it?
If you're so inclined, you can.
Is that what you said? I actually didn't hear you.
Oh, I just said it's time for Defend or Destroy.
I thought you were just like
cue air horn into the podcast.
Like really obnoxious, like Sports Center like thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I imagined.
That's what I envisioned too.
I don't even know if that's what they do because I never watch it. Top 10 celebrity reactions to these slam dunks.
Okay.
Because that's definitely a weird thing. I defend this movie. I picked it, so I defend it. No, that's not an automatic defend for me. Most likely it is. There's a few. But yeah, this movie has got the action. It's got the story. It's got the character. It's got everything you want. It's not that long. It's maybe 2 hours. That's not that long for a movie. It's average.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You don't have to read that much if you don't like reading, you know. It's in Japanese, but like I know people don't like to read or whatever when they're watching a movie because they're lazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth the read.
Yeah.
That's what I got. I just like this movie a lot. It's really entertaining.
So you've seen it before?
It's my first time watching it.
Okay. It was my first time watching it too.
Well, it took forever to even get it on. I think 2011, I want to say, is when Netflix got it. But like it took a decade, I think, to even get it playing places here in the United States. Well, 2011 is almost 10 years after the film. So.
Yeah, it came out in 2000, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long. I remember when it came out to Netflix, and it's like made me think of it. But I remember it's no longer on Netflix because I watched it. Or is it actually? I don't even know.
It is. I watched the director's cuts on Netflix.
I don't even know if I watched it. I forgot it was on Netflix, so I watched it on Shudder because I saw it on there. Yeah. I would imagine they would have the director's cut because their whole bread and butter is having horror movies.
Yeah. Well, did you see the flashback to the one girl whose mother was drunk and the guy was paid money, which is a little girl, went upstairs? Basketball flashbacks
I don't remember that at all.
Oh, I'm the only one who watched the director's cut. It's only like 10 minutes longer, I think, and it's just like flashbacks.
Huh.
They just cut flashbacks out.
Pretty much.
That makes sense. They probably
It's-
cut out some of the lesser known characters as like backstories.
Yeah, it was one of their flashbacks. Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so much to remember. I like. Oh, sorry. I just remembered something else I liked about this. I hope that's okay.
I think that's all right.
The character that's helping the duo, like the love
Kawada.
people. Yeah, the little love nesters. He's just like helping him out because he's like, oh, I had a girlfriend, like I've been in this before and I lost her. And then later on he's like, I've been fooling you the whole fucking time, and I was like, what? And then it ended up that was just a ploy in the end to trick the coach. I don't know, I like that. And then I was like sad when he died on the boat.
Me too.
But
that was a bummer.
But he did that. He's just like, no, it's okay. I made it out. I don't know. It was like kind of like, it was a bittersweet moment.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm done now.
Well, I even felt a little bit when the teacher died, even though he was like the villain. Like, I feel like as the story went on, you realized like he's not doing too well. Like, he's pretty sad himself, and he like doesn't even really resist his death. He kind of just takes it and like slowly calls his daughter, I think. This is one of the last things he does.
Yeah, he like popped up and like answered that phone. And you're like, oh shit, he's still alive.
Yeah. So I also will defend, if that's not obvious, for many of the same reasons Peter said. I think it's, for people who don't know Japanese cinema very much or haven't watched Japanese cinema, I think this is a very easy film to kind of transition to watching Japanese cinema. It has it's not like the Hunger Games, but I mean, it's like a similar premise. So it has that same sort of action feel, but it's not blockbustery, I would say. It's not like action-packed blockbuster, but things are going on constantly. So I would defend it, definitely recommend it. Right now I know it's on Netflix for sure. Yeah, that's it from me. I liked all around everything about Battle Royale.
Alright, well, rounding it out, I liked it. It's not really a movie that I would have sought out for myself. Because, like, such high action, it's not usually my style. But with this, I enjoyed the storyline. It was, really dramatic and not quite like other, action movies that I've seen. And it's easy enough to follow along despite all of these like different characters' names that I found really confusing and all that. But they kept it fast-paced, interesting, so it's going to be a different for me as well. That's all I have to say.
I thought you were going to destroy it for a second.
You thought?
Yeah. Well, with that, then that wraps up this week's episode of the It Records podcast, talking Battle Royale. So thanks for tuning in. We'll be back over the airwaves next week as well, as we always do. But let us know what you're thinking. We're on Facebook, Twitter, we have our own website. You can communicate with us. It's pretty crazy. We are reachable. So, just let us know. But until next time, I'm Matt Johnson. I remain in the shadows.
I am Peter Hansen, and I won't beg for you to reach out to us because I have more dignity than you.